In this video, we'll be looking at how hard Stellaris can really be. And no, it's not just changing the crisis strength and the AI difficulty. I've looked at every setting, and I think every single setting can actually make the game even harder. Stick around to see what the final settings look like. To define what we mean hard, we need to set a win condition. So I ran a poll a couple of days ago about when do you actually win Stellaris. The one that won was defeating the endgame crisis plus all other empires, but personally I think defeating the endgame crisis is enough for these settings, and you'll see why in a minute. First up, we're going to do galaxy size as huge. This may seem like it's just bigger for just reasons. There's other settings that go into this, and we'll get onto those later as to why we're actually going for the biggest setting. Obviously, some people won't be able to run this. You can turn it down. But for the actual theoretical hardest game, I think you need huge. The shape, it may not matter, but I think elliptical or ring is a must because less choke points. Choke points make defending yourself way easier, and trust me, you're gonna want to defend yourself in this game. AI, we're gonna put them all the way up for reasons that are coming soon. Advanced starts, every single one. Fallen empires, I'm not entirely sure because in one way they can help you with the endgame crisis, but also they can screw you over. So this is one of those settings that I'm not entirely sure on. Marauders, we will max out. Tech cost, this is the first setting that really needs some thought behind. Tech cost applies to everyone in the galaxy, including AIs, so you might be saying, why bother with 5 times? For one simple reason, I don't think it applies to mid and end game crisis. So, with a 5-time tech cost and the earliest start for mid and end game crisis, you are going to face extremely hard fleets for your tech level. And I don't even know if it's theoretically possible with the other changes that we're going to make. Habitable worlds, the lowest, and you'll see why this is important later. Primitives, off. Crisis strength, obviously, we're gonna max that out. Crisis type, you might say, oh, this crisis is stronger than this one. Well, most good players know how to min-max to defeat the endgame crisis. So to keep an element of randomness so they can't rely on their min-max, we're gonna go for random. Victory year, we're gonna turn off because does anyone really like victory year? And I want to give the chance to grind out a win if possible. Difficulty, Grand Admiral. Scaling difficulty, off. So I always thought scaling difficulty scaled with you, but it actually ramps up the difficulty. So it would start at low and then slowly go up to Grand Admiral is how I think it actually works. So this needs to be off. AI aggressiveness, high. Empire placement, I wasn't too sure which one is actually harder. We'll go for random. There's so many AIs that it probably doesn't even matter. Advanced neighbors, on. This is quite self-explanatory. Harder AIs means more death. Hyperlane density. Now personally, I think choke points make the game way easier, so we're going to ramp this up all the way to full so that you cannot just hide in a little corner. Every star is open. Now, abandoned gateways and wormhole pairs. We made the map as big as possible, so if we have way more gateways and way more pairs, that means all these AIs are more likely to get gateways or wormholes that can jump into our territory or near us. Also, the end game and mid game crisis can use these pairs, so they're more likely, if they don't spawn in you, to be able to get to you and just destroy you. Guaranteed habitable worlds, off. For any empire, really, this is a must to turn off. Caravaneers. So I think the AI can use these. Humans are way smart and can potentially abuse Caravaneers. So what we're going to do, turn that off. Xeno compatibility, we'll whack that off so you don't lag as bad. If you're enjoying this video so far, make sure to subscribe. A lot of you aren't subscribed, please. It's pain. Next, again, as similar to the tech, we're going to make this as slow as possible. Now, all AIs will have this debuff as well, but like the tech cost, it's going to make the endgame crisis way stronger against you because you'll have way less bots. It's just not fun. Iron Man mode, you can turn it on if you want pure pain, but if it's off, you can save scum, but there's obviously ways that you can save scum with Iron Man on. I don't know if it really matters. Now on to the Empire. Yes, that's right. It's not just the settings that you can change to make the game even harder. It's also the Empire. Now we have one of the worst portraits, personally, I think, is in the game. I'm joking, Mom, too. I'm sorry. This will make it even harder to play. So the origin is Doomsday. Now, I did do a poll on what the hardest origin was. Obviously, you didn't have context on the Empire settings, etc. With these settings, Doomsday is by far the hardest. It is a decent origin if you can use it right, but there's no planets. There's nothing. You could make this even harder for yourself because Doomsday doesn't get any guaranteed habitable worlds. So you can actually turn that up to 2 and all the AIs in the game will get guaranteed habitable worlds and you won't. So it can be even more painful. Now, if you didn't want to go for Doomsday because it's kind of an RNG fest, I personally think Galactic Doorstep is pretty trash. You might say these Federation starts are really bad, but you can heavily abuse these starts, and that's why they're banned in most multiplayer games. So it wouldn't be one of those. Galactic Doorstep is definitely the most useful. You get a few good buffs, but you also get things that just spawned in your empire, and it doesn't really help you at all because gateways and wormholes are at 5x. So it doesn't matter. For this run, or this build, we're going to go with Doomsday. For the traits, we've got non-adaptive, so if you do find a planet, it's even worse. It's just pain. Slow breeders, pops are the most useful resource in the game, and even with the slow pop growth, you're making it even slower. Repugnant, amenities is a pain for Doomsday, and we just make it even worse. Wasteful, consumer goods can rack up early game, and it can be expensive to try and micro your economy. And decadent, even worse happiness, which the amenities stacks on, and a Doomsday, your world's just gonna hate you. Another one you could go for is pull some unity from jobs. Unity's quite important. Maybe wheat, less resources. I think these were the best, and fleeting's just more annoying than actually hard. Now on to government and ethics. I tried my best to make the worst government and ethics combo as possible, and it turns out you don't actually have to pick civics in game. This empire is perfectly fine, just no civics. That was good because all civics are pretty positive. They're all actually semi-useful. For the authority, we've gone for democratic because automatic resettlement chance does not matter to someone who's microing heavily, and it's the least useful out of influence gain, sprawl, and edict. For the ethics, we've gone for a fanatic spiritualist because out of everyone, I think it's the least useful, and the ascension is the worst, or one of the worst. Definitely not materialist. We could have gone pacifist, but I think that would be quite boring. And also the stability is actually useful for a Doomsday. So I think Unity and Edict cost is the best. And you actually have to pick all points. So if I tried to go for this, it would not let me. So we've gone for Fanatic, Spiritualist, and Xenophile because trade value doesn't really matter too much unless you really heavily optimize it. But this Origin isn't good for trade value. And Envoys, which doesn't matter too much. That's all the meaningful settings. We'll load into a game. Now, as you can see, some things to note. You can actually pick civics while you're in game. And you might say, oh, that means they can choose what they're doing, but it costs 250 per civic, so I think it's harder to not pick any than pick bad ones, if that makes sense. But with Doomsday, you must find a planet, so you need to use your influence to expand, so you're not going to get these civics early on. And for the techs, if you want to see how bad these costs are, we'll just pick random ones for now. Yeah, the research will take 63 years. That's after the endgame crisis, so I don't even know if you can get any techs before the endgame. You probably can if you rush a lot of tech. But yeah, this is just pain. 761 months. Now, your planet's fine when it starts off, but it will explode. And yeah, devastation. Now, your stability is trash. Even if you put full clerks, you get... It's just so dumb. I'm not actually going to play this game because this video is getting quite long, and I just wanted to show the theoretical hardest game. If you want to try this, go for it. Join the Discord, link is in the description. Send me some screenshots if you're actually attempting to do this. If you want me to do this, let me know. I can try and see if this is theoretically possible. If you want other creators to be punished, comment on their thing. Tell them to attempt the hardest game possible, especially this dude, and it will be interesting to see if this is possible. If you enjoyed this video, then you'll love this Clone Origin video, which tells you every possible way you can play it optimally.